What's up, guys? Today I am going to be doing the process of swapping the Foxbody from a cable clutch system to a hydraulic clutch system. Brand new kit from Silver Sport Transmissions. So slave cylinder, all the pieces needed because the ZF is obviously hydraulic. So we're gonna get in here. I already got my seats removed. We're gonna go remove some stuff under the dash, get the cable and spring and all that stuff for the pedal out of there now. Go in, drill some holes, and do the process of getting this installed. So, all right, so just real quick, this is everything that it comes with. 2 templates, real size that you kind of cut out and use for figuring out where you need to cut and drill. This mounts right to the firewall, bracket, reservoir, and line. I don't know if I'm gonna keep that there forever. It is in theory just a reservoir. It shouldn't be a big deal, but I don't know. It just kind of looks cheaper, so we'll see, like I said, how long I keep that. But yeah, otherwise just brackets and instructions. So we're gonna, a lot of this has to do with the like actual hydraulic piece that usually is used on TKO, TKXs, stuff like that. So I won't be using everything in this because I have a different setup, but we're more or less focusing on the actual firewall parts aspect of it, how difficult it is to cut, drill, do everything you need to do to use this brand Silver Sport Transmissions conversion kit. So let's get into it. All right, so first part of the instructions pretty much say to like remove the brake booster and reservoir and all that stuff for room. I'm assuming that's just referencing when you normally have an engine in here, so I'm not gonna remove all that just because I really don't want to. It's an upgraded brake booster, so it was already a pain in the butt to get crammed in there. So we're gonna leave that there because it obviously should clear regardless. I'm currently working on getting the steering shaft pulled out. I was just making all, I don't even know if you can see in the video, all the marks on it so I know where everything was lined up to begin with. Like I said, seats out, so we're gonna get the steering shaft out of here, give us some room. I gotta get the gas pedal out of here because I'm swapping that anyways. But we gotta do some trimming underneath here to make room, so that'll be our first step here. All right, I hope this angle isn't too bad. So we're pulling parts to get down to the steering shaft. Get this guide out of our way. We're gonna be unplugging some stuff. You should need an 8mm or a 5/16 and a 9/16. Should be all you need, depending on your car. That won't work. See if this will fit. Yep. Handy dandy clip breaker tool. These might have been easier if I would have taken this off, to be honest. Maybe I'll drop the steering column first and then disconnect those last two. Why that's still in there. One more, 2 more technically. Okay. Steering column is dropped down. Now, wire is all disconnected. We're gonna rest that there and see what we need to disconnect here. Should also be a 9/16. Oh, you betcha. Set you down here. All right. Steering column removed. That's out. That opens up a bunch of room in here. So we'll go on to the next step. Next is taking this. We have to remove this upper screw here. Put the backing plate in with that little screw hole, and then use that to make marks as to where to drill 3/8 holes out and to cut a hole for the boot, or for the spline through the boot. So I'm gonna do that next. I'm gonna get this out of the way because honestly this wasn't even hooked up. I don't know what it's for. And then we're gonna get that out. Honestly. All right, so that one was a bit of a pain in the butt. Holes are drilled, everything's out, but there's not, I mean, as you can kind of see, I mean, there's line room, but when you actually have like a drill and everything in there, there's not a whole lot of room to drill a perfectly straight line. So a little bit of a pain in the butt, but I got them all drilled out. So next step is I'm gonna figure out where, like it shows a little picture. I just can't seem to find where this is, but I'm assuming it's, I've got something with the bolt that's still in there, which is why I'm not seeing it as that, yeah, as that's shown. So I gotta trim out the right side. I'm gonna do that next. This guy we're gonna trim out. All right, so yes, this template goes right here, up against there. God, it's such a pain. And you cut that little section out. So this is gonna be a real hassle. I'm gonna get to it off film, and I'll come back when it's all done because, like I said, this is gonna suck. In theirs, oh, that doesn't look right. In their pictures, they have all the brake pedal assembly shit removed, which is what was throwing me off. All of this stuff is gone in their picture, so I was like, where am I looking? So yeah, I gotta trim a bunch of stuff, and thankfully I have a small cutoff wheel, but it's still a very tight area, so we're gonna get that trimmed, get that done, and then on to the next step. Okay, hole is trimmed. That was a real pain in the butt. I used this the whole time, which was not fun. I ended up using a real little wheel that was really worn out too. And I completely forgot that I had this kit. So truthfully, if you have one, or it's honestly worth investing, these little die grinder kits with these little wheels. I mean, you might go through a couple of the wheels, but you're gonna have way better luck getting up in this little tiny crevice than I did. So that's the right way to go. I just took a Dremel and kind of cleaned it up. It's not great. I really don't love it, but it'll work. So no one's gonna see it. So that's trimmed, holes are done. I'm gonna figure out what my next step here is. I'm pretty sure it's starting to mount stuff. and yeah, go from there. So we're gonna get stuff started to get mounted. Okay, we got the old cable clutch quadrant out. These are a pain in the ass. So old one out, new one is in this orientation. That's what we were trimming out, was so that the bracket or the rod can sit through here, because that's gonna be what's moving in there. So their bracket just goes on both pins. They gave us washers, so I gotta put washers over it, and then the clips back in. And then this ends up obviously just threading onto that. And how they want it, find the instructions here. They send you these, and I was kind of like, what the heck? That's just for holding whatever line you end up using, so you don't have to use that. This bracket is what holds the reservoir line. That stuff's for later. So they show in here that they want this to all keep a nice orientation. So obviously the slave cylinder sits at kind of a goofy angle, which is fine. So slave cylinder sits like this. I ended up, again, because I have a larger brake booster, I ended up notching, you can't even tell in the video, I had to notch that side of it because it wouldn't hit the brake booster, and I hammered the brake booster a bit, but I wasn't gonna put a hole in it trying to make that work. So I just went and clipped it. You can kind of tell I have a screwdriver in there right now just to dictate the hole. Drilling the holes was kind of a pain in the butt because you're going through multiple layers of metal. There's not a whole lot of room. Even lining up the template that they give you, it wasn't great. So I might have two bolts held in, run through with a drill bit again just to open it up more. But yeah, this turns, you can lock that down. I'll end up putting the reservoir, honestly, probably somewhere over in this corner, just so it's kind of tucked away, but either there or maybe up here. I just kind of want it hidden. I don't really want it, you know, somewhere super out in the open, but yeah. So I'm gonna get that finished up, bolting up, and then I might put the steering shaft in back right away, but I don't know. So let's finish bolting this up, putting it together. All right, everything's kind of a mess right now, but finished product. Reservoir tucked up in this corner. They give you a bracket to mount the reservoir to mount to your car, but honestly, it seems kind of silly because it won't sit flush. This should at least work for a while. I'm gonna end up changing these from self-tappers to actual bolts just so that they don't possibly start to back out. But reservoir is gonna hide there because the hood should end up sitting just above it. If it becomes a problem where this is constantly hitting the reservoir, I'll move it, lower it, whatever. But that's tucked away. Motor that I have going in, exhaust will only be on this side, so I'm not worried about the rubber hose. But orientated the hose right through down there, and everything's right here. And then I'm gonna end up having to make or get a hard line or a braided line to go from here to my clutch slave on the BMW transmission, because I don't feel, I might make a hard line, but I don't know. We'll see whatever's easier. I gotta kind of end up just getting the fittings that I need and go from there. But yeah, that's the product. I'm pretty impressed with it. It seems pretty nice. It was definitely I mean, I kind of took some breaks, but it was an all-day project. It's not a 5-minute install. You gotta remove some things, so it's definitely not for your home mechanic that has 10 tools. I wouldn't advise it. Take it to a shop or have a buddy you know that has some tools and some good knowledge do it and help you. It's hopefully worth it. I personally really enjoy the clutch cable system because it's easy. You can't have a lot of drift cars like BMWs, for example, their clutch fluid gets way too hot and then they have clutch issues. You don't have those with cables, but BMWs, unfortunately, the transmission I'm going with doesn't have that option. I couldn't keep a cable and the throw-out bearing and clutch fork, whatever, all that stuff. So this was my option. This was the cheaper of set options. There were a lot of kits out there that were from like $500 to $1,000, way more than I needed. This is simple. It seems like it's good quality. It's not a Willwood master cylinder or whatever, but I can always change it out if I really don't like this one. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how I like it. We'll see how it does. I'll probably do an update video later on. But yeah, so once again, finished product. Looks really nice from this side. I might also end up changing this just depending on heat range. We'll see how that does. Although obviously it's just a hose to the reservoir, so it's not the end of the world. I got a mess. I got to put the steering shaft back in, but back down to the driver's side. Get my light positioned here. Plate on the inside. I ended up doing a little bit more drilling than the instructions said. The instructions were good, don't get me wrong. Could have been a little bit better with pictures. So if someone from Silver Sport Transmission sees this, I recommend updating your instruction things with better pictures because they're really small. But otherwise, honestly, everything turned out really nice. So we will see how it lasts, see how it does. I'll have to figure out some adjustment in this, or if I have to adjust it. It's bottomed out all the way on this side. It started spinning the stud. This side I don't think is, so I don't know. I don't even know if that will have to be adjusted. We'll kind of just play around and see. I don't want to pump it a bunch of times because there's no fluid in it, and they recommend not doing anything when there's no fluid. So yeah, we're gonna get everything put back together. I gotta do some vacuuming now that there's metal shavings everywhere and all the dirt that was under my seats. Get everything back together. I'll probably end up bleeding it. I really wanted to bench bleed the master cylinder, but in the instructions it says test fit it before you do that, just in case there's something wrong. But I'm not gonna take it all back out to bench bleed it, so I'll just end up bleeding it in the car. It's not the end of the world. But yeah, this is the bracket it gives you for the reservoir and the hardware. What doesn't make sense though is if you put the bolts through here, either the bolt head or the nut is gonna stick out on this side, so you can't have this flat to anything. So I don't know, it's a good concept. I'm not gonna use it. So this piece is only if you were gonna keep your cruise control. This was just a little relocator bracket, not gonna use it. This I might use for the hard line if I do end up going with the hard line, we'll see. And all my BMW parts again. So yeah, shout out Silver Sport Transmission. Thank you for the product. Catch you later.